Yes, Maharaj. Om Namah Shri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Suray Satchid Sukha Swarupaya Swami Netapaharini. Namaste to everybody. My pranams to revered Swami Shantatmanji Maharaj. And I'm grateful to him for giving me this opportunity to be with you. It'll be in the evening in New Delhi. It's early morning here in New York to talk about Swami Vivekananda on his birth anniversary. Last year, I had this opportunity to be at Harvard University in the Harvard Divinity School for 1 year. And during that year, I was in Boston. And one day, I was contacted by this young Vietnamese researcher who was working in Boston College in business management. He said, I want to speak with you about Swami Vivekananda. You are a monk of Swami Vivekananda's order, so I want to speak with you about Swami Vivekananda. So I invited him over and we sat and talked. And I was amazed by what he said. He said that I was doing research in some of the most important ideas in the modern world in the area of work, in the area of business management and work. And he found that some of the most important ideas in modern times, when he began to trace them back, what is the source? And he found everywhere it led back to one name, Swami Vivekananda. He did not know anything about Swami Vivekananda. He began to read more and he was amazed at what Swami Vivekananda had accomplished. And so he wanted to speak to me about Swami Vivekananda and know more about Swami Vivekananda. I was so happy to hear about this. I always had this intuition that Swami Vivekananda was one of the greatest influences in molding America into what it is now. Many of the great ideas which are prevalent now throughout America, people do not know the source. The idea that we have this infinite human potential, the idea that happiness does not lie in external achievements, in money or power, the happiness that the idea that spirituality is for everybody, the idea that the spirituality is the core of religion and all religions are harmonized on that basis. So many wonderful ideas, they have come from Swami Vivekananda. They are very strong and powerful in America now. Only people do not know the source. Recently, another book by Phil Goldberg, a book called American Veda, which talks about how Hinduism came to America. There's a full chapter there. The name of the chapter is quite funny. It says, the Swamis taught the smart guys and the smart guys taught the rest of us. So there he traces how the important American intellectuals at one period, they were influenced by the Vedanta societies, which were initially established by Swami Vivekananda. I must tell you that the Vedanta society I am in right now, the Vedanta Society of New York, was the first Vedanta society and established by Swami Vivekananda himself. So Phil Goldberg writes how great American intellectuals, writers, and scholars, and philosophers, they were influenced by these ideas which were traced back to Swami Vivekananda. Joseph Campbell, who wrote about mythology, who was associated with the Vedanta Society, with the Ramakrishna Vivekananda Center here in New York. Salinger, one of the greatest American novelists. Houston Smith, whose contributions to comparative religion are without parallel. Of course, Aldous Huxley, Christopher Isherwood, all these notable people, they were heavily influenced by ideas which they got from Vedanta, from Swami Vivekananda. And then these ideas became mainstream in America through their writings. Many others were influenced by them, down to popular culture. I mean, many of you in India may be watching these Star Wars movies, one after another. The series is still continuing. But the original ideas, many of those things came from Vedanta. Joseph Campbell was a personal friend of George Lucas, and he shared some of his ideas which went into the making of the original Star Wars movies. In many, many ways, uh, ideas from India come through Swami Vivekananda and have influenced America. Today, I shall speak to you about 5 of these ideas. There is a word takeaway. So, from Swami Vivekananda, what can we take away which can improve and change our lives? So, 5 ideas. The first and most important idea is that of strength. When we come to Swami Vivekananda, many people said that Vivekananda's very presence, his words were like a tonic. So strength is the first thing that we get from Vivekananda. I would like to read out to you a quote from Swami Vivekananda about strength. Swamiji says, "Freedom is never to be reached by the weak. Throw away all weakness. Tell your body that it is strong. Tell your mind that it is strong. And have unbounded faith and hope in yourself." Again, he says, "Strength is the medicine for the world's disease. Strength is the medicine which the poor must have when tyrannized over by the rich. Strength is the medicine that the ignorant must have when oppressed by the learned. And it is the medicine that sinners must have when tyrannized over by other sinners." And so on. So this idea of strength, in the Bhagavad Gita, so many wonderful verses are there about jnana and bhakti and dhyana. But Swami Vivekananda says the most important verse is the first thing which Sri Krishna says to Arjuna. He says, "Klaivyam masma gamaf partha, naita tvai upapadyate." He says to Arjuna, who was in distress, depressed, almost crying over his dilemma whether to fight the battle or not. And Sri Krishna's first words were like a scolding. There's a gospel or the counsel of strength, that give up this unmanliness. This does not befit you. Stand up and fight and do your duty. So the counsel of strength. Upanishads, Swami Vivekananda says the only reason I taught Advaita here in the West and throughout is that the idea of strength comes. It is strength giving. So this is the first thing that we get from Swami Vivekananda, and this is at the root of everything. All the changes that we want to make in our lives and improve our lives, become better, it all comes from this idea of strength. If somebody asks, so how will we get strength even if I don't have strength? Well, many ways. But first of all, from yourself. Tell yourself that I am strong. I am none other than infinite Brahman. Why should I not be strong? Another source of strength is to read Vivekananda. Vivekananda himself is a source of strength. If you read Vivekananda, if you have Vivekananda's pictures with you, you just look at Vivekananda, read his words, you will get strength. The next idea is that of confidence in oneself. Swami Vivekananda used the words faith in oneself. Today we talk about self-confidence. Swamiji, he says that is the famous quote which we often use, who is an atheist? He says, the old religion said, he is an atheist who does not believe in God. The new religion says, he is an atheist who does not believe in himself. This idea of self-confidence. Josephine MacLeod, one of Swamiji's closest associates here in the United States, who helped with Swami Vivekananda's work long after Swami Vivekananda had passed away. So Josephine MacLeod says that she was well known to many people in high society, not only in the United States but also in Europe. She says that I met the Tsar of Russia in those days, before the communist times. And when I met the Tsar of Russia, I felt how great he was, the Tsar, and how small I am, how insignificant I am. But when I met Swami Vivekananda, I felt how great he is and how great I am. Swami Vivekananda had that capacity for instilling that faith in oneself. A person became aware of the greatness in oneself. When you sense the greatness in Vivekananda, and it arouses a sense of the greatness within ourselves. I like this saying that whatever is behind you, whatever is in front of you is as nothing compared to what is within you. That whatever is behind you is our past. Whatever is in front of us is our future. And mostly our lives, our attention is concentrated on these two. Young people are looking forward to the future. Old people are looking back to the past. But the saying is that whatever is in our past, whatever is in our future, is insignificant, it is small compared to what is within us. And what is within us, of course, is the Atman, is our real nature. There was a psychologist here in the United States quite some time ago, I think about 30, 40 years ago, Bandura, Albert Bandura. He developed a concept of self-efficacy. This idea of self-efficacy is that that I am equal to the challenges in life. I have faced many challenges in life. I have overcome those challenges, and whatever it is that is coming to my life now, I can face it, and I can solve this problem. He noticed that children, students, when they were confronted with a difficult problem, for example, a maths problem, some persisted, some gave up. Now, those who persisted obviously had a greater chance of success. If you keep on trying, then only you have a chance of success. If we do not try at all, there's no chance of success at all. So why did some children keep on trying at a difficult problem and in the examinations, and other children gave up? And so here he developed this idea of self-efficacy, that faith in oneself, that some children had the feeling that I can tackle it. It is possible for me to solve this problem. Let me try a little more. And other children got scared and they gave up. It is impossible for me. This faith in oneself, it is the source of all success. Now, another great idea that we take away from Swami Vivekananda, and these ideas are all around us nowadays. There's this whole field of positive psychology, which has developed in the last 20, 25 years. And it's become a big thing here in the United States, and it has spread across the world also. Many of the ideas there regarding happiness and human fulfillment, regarding character, these are, I see them directly, coming from Swami Vivekananda, though he does not get credit for it. One of the ideas is of focus, of concentration. Swami Vivekananda said that the difference between an ordinary person and a great person lies in the degree of concentration. That those who are successful in life are able to concentrate more, and those who get distracted easily do not attain to that level of success. Swami Vivekananda himself was, of course, an extraordinary, he had extraordinary powers of concentration. There are so many stories. One I like, he was in Meerut with his brother disciple Swami Akhandananda, and he would send Swami Akhandananda to the public library in Meerut to get some books. It was a multi-volume series, a scientific work, multi-volume, big, thick books, densely written. And Swami Akhandananda would borrow these volumes from the library and bring them to Swami Vivekananda, who would read it and then return it within a day or two. And the librarian became suspicious, said, this monk comes and takes a book and then 2 days later returns it, and again another next volume. He said, you are not reading it. Nobody can read so fast. Then Akhandanji said, it's not for me, it is for my brother disciple, my brother monk, Swami Vivekananda. I said, whoever it is, he is not reading it. When Akhandanji went and reported that to Swamiji, Swamiji said, let us go and speak with the librarian. And he went and met the librarian, and librarian picked out the books which had been issued, and he asked questions, and Swami Vivekananda was able to answer all those questions verbatim to the satisfaction of the librarian. There's a cute ending to this story. A professor from Meerut University, a professor of education, she was visiting our college in Calcutta, the B.Ed college, Shikshan Mandir, and she told us, told me and the other teaching staff there, that library is still there, and above the librarian's desk there is a picture of Swami Vivekananda now. So this power of concentration, again, in positive psychology these days, a lot of study has been done. You see, it is all about training and directing the power of attention, where we put our cognitive resources. Last year, we had a retreat on meditation techniques at a place called the Garrison Institute near New York. And we studied meditation techniques in Buddhism, we studied meditation techniques in Kashmiri Shaivism, meditation techniques from Tantra in Hinduism, and meditation techniques from Advaita Vedanta. Now, a professor of philosophy, Professor Indam Chakravarti, when he heard about this plan, he said, we'll do one more session at the end, Swamiji. In the end, you look back upon all those techniques and see how they are all different, and then see how they are similar. What is the underlying common factor to all these meditation techniques? And we noticed one thing. We did that session, the final session, and we noticed one thing, that all the techniques, Buddhism, where they don't believe about the permanent soul, they do not believe about God, or Hinduism, where we believe about Atma and Ishvara, Kashmiri Shaivism, which is a realistic system, Advaita Vedanta, which is an absolutistic system. And so different these systems are, so different these techniques of meditation are. But one thing was common. All of them were about training and directing attention. So this training and directing attention is the core of concentration. This is the great power that we have. You see, I have one thing I'm always interested in is to see how scholars and students are studying. So I love to visit libraries. I have visited one of my favorite places in the New Delhi Ramakrishna Mission is the library of the New Delhi Ramakrishna Mission, which has now reached a greater glory under the improvements carried out by revered Swami Shantatmanji Maharaj. I visited libraries in different universities, institutes, top universities, institutes across the world, and I would observe how students study. IIT Kanpur, I used to watch the students study in the library. Last year at Harvard University, in the libraries, it was my favorite place. I would sit and study myself and also watch. So the one thing I noticed was, among all the top students, the best students, one common characteristic was concentration, the power to focus, power to take their attention and put it on one thing and hold it there for a long time, to cut out all distractions. Take attention, focus it, hold it there, cut out all distractions. This is a common feature, whether they're boys or girls, whether they are white or black or Asian, whatever it is, older or younger, whatever their subject is, one common thing. Last year, I was talking to a scientist there. I met so many great scholars, including number of Nobel Prize winners. This one common feature was concentration, focus. One scientist I met, I asked him, what is the secret of your success? One of the leading physicists of the world. And he said, did you notice I was talking about the subject, which I was talking about, the investigation? For 30 years, I've been pursuing the answer to this one problem. And I can tell you, I would go through this wall to get an answer to that question. So that kind of tremendous focus. How do you do that? One little clue here. There is a psychologist here in the United States, Professor Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, who has written a book called Flow. All his life he has studied concentration, attention, concentration. He said that the quality of our life, it depends on what we concentrate on and how much we concentrate. An important insight. What we are always thinking about and how much we think about it, that will have an impact on our lives. One author, she said that she got cancer and very depressed, physically not feeling well. Chemotherapy is having very bad effect on the health. Then finance, where will all the money come from? What will happen to my job, my personal life? Depression. Then she said, I cannot go on like this, I must change. And she changed her focus from cancer, illness, money problems, health problems, discomfort, to her writing, to her occupation. And she filled her mind deliberately with the thought of what she was writing, what the subject matter, and very little time was given to medical problems. And she says her life changed dramatically. Where we put our attention, what we are thinking about, what occupies our mind, that has a direct bearing on the quality of our life. The poet Milton said, the mind by itself, our human mind by itself, can make a heaven of hell and a hell of heaven. So many times I have seen young people with all advantages, rich and well-to-do parents and good family, good education, everything is there, health, everything is there, and somehow sometimes they destroy their own lives. And sometimes students from young people from very disadvantaged circumstances, by sheer concentration or focus, holding on to one thing and persevering, they transform their lives, um, from hell to heaven, from heaven to hell. So this Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, he wrote a book called Flow, where he says the highest state of concentration is achieved whether it is in work, in study, in play. It is called, he calls it flow. And one important idea there he has given is, actually our mental resources are limited. He says the human mind has the capacity of processing maybe about 120 bits of information per second, consciously processing that information. The bits, I mean the computer, the bits in the IT language. So 120 bits per second, more or less, that kind of that much information we can process per second, and that's not much. In fact, to even you know. To listen to one person, if you're listening to me, you're using up about 60 bits of information per second. You're already using up. That's why it's so difficult to listen to two people at the same time, and three people impossible, because it's beyond our cognitive bandwidth. Now, what is concentration? What is attention? Mihai Csikszentmihalyi says, out of the total 120 bits per second which you have got, how much of it can you take and put on the subject? Whatever you are studying, thinking about, working on, how much of that? Little bit will be left over to maintain self-awareness that I am here, I'm sitting. This much little bit of awareness may be left, but if you can put 80, 90, 100 bits per second into one object, that is concentration, that is flow. Why he called it flow? Those of you who are, if you play a musical instrument or if you play some game, you know the feeling. You suppose someone knows how to play tabla. So when the performance is going well, sometimes it's like a flow. Almost effortlessly it comes. You know that the quality of the performance is very high, and yet it feels effortless, and you're completely absorbed in it. So that is the state of flow. And that we can do in any activity. Swami Vivekananda himself, um, another important, very nice story is how he was reading the Encyclopedia Britannica. In those days, those big volumes, and his disciple Sharat Chandra comes and asks and says, Swamiji, this huge books, it's impossible for a human being to finish all these books in one lifetime. Swami Vivekananda said, what do you mean? I've already finished 9 volumes. I'm on the 10th. You ask me anything. Not only has he finished them, but he retains. And Sharat Chandra asked from here and there, and again Swamiji answers the questions to Sharat Chandra's satisfaction. How is it possible? Swami Vivekananda says, by purity and concentration, it is possible for everybody. May not be for us to that extent which Swami Vivekananda showed, but whatever we are doing, definitely it can become, our concentration can be much better than what we have right now. And by the way, it's not impossible. I've heard of other people finishing entire encyclopedias. Very famous person nowadays, hero, Elon Musk. I think yesterday it was in the news that he has become the richest person in the world. When he was a student, he finished the entire Encyclopedia Britannica, I think twice over or something like that. Not that I'm recommending you should read Encyclopedia Britannica, but what I mean is, in any task that we do, the power of focus, that is the key to success. Swami Vivekananda gives us the secret. How do you do that? Very simple formula. And he says, do whatever you are doing with the fullest possible attention. So whatever you're doing, that you do with the fullest possible attention. See, what Mihai Csikszentmihalyi said, where you have 120 bits of information per second you can process, as much of that if you can put into one subject, into your task at hand, that is concentration. And Swamiji is also saying the same thing. Why? Whatever you are doing, We normally think when I'm studying or working, I need concentration. When I'm watching TV or talking to my friends, why do I need concentration? Swami Vivekananda says, because you have only one mind. It is the same mind. If we develop the habit of concentration, then when we need it, mind will become automatically concentrated. But if we scatter it throughout the day, then when we want the mind to be concentrated, it will not be concentrated. Throughout the day, if I'm on social media, if I go around doing whatever impulse comes to my mind, and in the evening I sit down and tell my mind that I have to do this assignment now, I have to do this homework now, mind will say, why should I have been happily playing around the whole day. Now you want me to concentrate on this boring thing? No, I will not do it. So Swami Vivekananda says, whatever we do, make a habit of doing it with the fullest possible attention. Here in New York, early in the morning, we have morning meditation, and then we have a little bit of reading. So today we were reading Reminiscences of Swami Vivekananda by one American devotee. Second time Swami Vivekananda came to the United States. So she is an artist. One day in Ridgely Manor, which is near New York, Swami Vivekananda was just for some rest. I want to do something else with my hands, not think so much. So can you teach me how to draw? This lady was an artist. She said, all right, I will teach you how to draw. And she says that's why Vivekananda, he learned very fast. And she gives a very nice description of how this childlike personality, such a great personality, childlike personality, completely absorbed in his drawing, as if that is the only task at hand. So whatever Swamiji used to do, he would get completely absorbed in that. That is a sign I have found in people who have succeeded in life in different aspects, in business, in academics, in arts, that ability to get absorbed, not only in their chosen profession, but in every little thing in life. So whatever they're doing, they give their fullest attention to that. So the power of concentration, power of focus. You will see in the logo of the Ramakrishna Mission, which was designed by Swami Vivekananda, again here in the Vedanta Society in New York, he designed that logo, which you see the serpent encircling and the swan swimming on the water, and the sun is rising, there's a lotus. You see that in the Ramakrishna Mission. And we know the meaning. The baby waters represent karma, the sun represents knowledge, and the lotus represents devotion or bhakti. But that serpent which encircles the whole thing, it represents concentration. So when concentration is there, one is able to realize that swan represents God or the Paramatman. One is able to realize God when one concentrates one's faculties, the power of focus. One thing which helps the power of focus very much is to have a high goal in life, a high purpose in life. Swami Vivekananda said, always have a high goal in life. You see, we do that all the time. You're going from one place to another in New Delhi and you get into the taxi, you will always tell the taxi driver will ask, kahan jana hai? Where do you want to go? And you don't say, jaise chal raha hai chalne do, and go on as you're going. You never say that. We always say, I have to go there, and you even tell, by this route I want to go. But when it comes to our own life, where do we want to go? We never think in that way. We either float with the circumstances or we go from one thing to another without clear idea of what we are trying to do. Many young people will be listening to this. I'm sure, I've always found when you ask, what is your goal in life? They're puzzled. They may give you a nice lecture on what should be the goal of life, but what is your goal in life? They scratch their heads. But one thing I can tell you is, if you come to the Ramakrishna Mission in New Delhi, or go to our main monastery in Belur Mutt, you look at all these monks, from the junior most monk to the Swamiji who is the head of this ashram, one question they can answer immediately. If you ask, what is your goal in life? From the brahmachari, newest brahmachari, to the senior most monk, they will immediately tell, yes, we know the goal of our life. Goal of our life is Atmano Mokshartham Jagatitaya Cha. God realization and welfare of the world is the goal of my life. It is this thing. And we are very ordinary people. But what makes ordinary people into extraordinary is having an extraordinary goal, is having a high goal in life. So this is one thing we should do. What goal should we have? That it is up to us. Swami Vivekananda says, Let it be your own highest ideal. Whatever appeals to you, many things appeal to us. Among them, what is the highest? What is the noblest? That can be our goal. Swamiji says that is the shortest path to progress. One wonderful young person I met, he has an organization called Parivar, in which thousands of orphans, he takes care of them. And now he has expanded his work across different parts of North India. He started originally at the outskirts of Calcutta. So Vinayak Lohani. One day in a conference like this, of course, it was not online, it was in person. So some student asked, how did you decide that your goal in life was this, to take care of orphan children? And his answer was very interesting. He said, no, I could not at first decide. He was studying in IIM Calcutta at that time. And he said that, I was thinking, what should I do with my life? Do I want to be like this, go into multinational corporate jobs? Or do I want to? My heart said no. So he said that I could not decide what to do. So I took another strategy. I asked, what should I not do? What is it that I don't feel like doing? So do I want to become a corporate executive? My heart said, no, I'm not interested. Do I want to become a professor, an academician like my professors? My heart said, I'm not interested. Then he said, one day he looked at those children in the street and he felt that they really need help. Should I help them? Can I help them? And immediately his heart said that, yes, you must do this. Now you see, by a method of elimination, if we do not know our goal in life, then find out what is not your goal in life, what you don't want to do. You will come across something that will inspire you, a great goal in life. And this, having a goal in life, this actually helps in focus also. In concentration, what we are doing from day to day, this is connected to whether we have a goal in life or not. Otherwise, we will waver, we will drift from day to day. There is a nice story which I like about a man going on a horse in a village. He's racing through the village and going on this horse. And somebody asks him, sir, where are you going in such a hurry? And the man looks back and he says, I don't know, ask the horse. So we are like that. We are mounted on this horse of life and it is taking us somewhere. We don't know where it is taking us. So we must have a clear direction in life. That is the goal in life, helps us there. And that also helps us in concentration. More than all of this which I have said, the most important thing which we get a takeaway from Swami Vivekananda is unselfishness. This is something Swami Vivekananda has stressed again and again. See, one can have great concentration, one can have a high goal in life like making money or being successful in one's profession, and one can still be very selfish. Now, what is wrong in that? What is wrong in that is that it is very limited. Your happiness, your success, and the benefit that you give to yourself and to everybody around you will be very limited. Even if we want only our own happiness, even if that is true, even if ideal is also selfish, the best way to achieve it is through unselfishness. Swami Vivekananda says, in the long run, unselfishness is more paying, but it takes a maturity to understand that. If I want, our instinct is, I will work for this person. I, me, mine. And why? Because that's the way to make myself happy. It is a deep mistake in that. It takes a long time to realize that continuously working for myself only, I may succeed sometimes, fail sometimes, but some total will be, I will not be satisfied. Whereas Swami Vivekananda says, if you work for others, if your idea is, what can I do for you? Then happiness is guaranteed. I remember revered Swami Ranganathananji Maharaj. He summarized spirituality so beautifully. What is spirituality? When I close my eyes, I find peace within. When I open my eyes, my attitude is, what can I do for you? You see, just the reverse of our usual attitude. When I close my eyes, many people say, so much disturbance, so many thoughts are crowding into my mind. And when I open my eyes, not what I can do for you, what can I get from you? No wonder that we do not find peace in life. No wonder that we do not find happiness in life. It is just the reverse. So this unselfishness, Swami Vivekananda stressed it tremendously. He said that those who only live for themselves are more dead than alive. It is only those who live for others that they really live. Again, in positive psychology, they have found, Professor Seligman here, Martin Seligman, worked on happiness, human happiness. And he found that the greatest source of happiness is that when we do things for others, which is very counterintuitive actually. He says that happiness has three components. One is pleasure. You are going to a party, you're going to eating nice food, mixing with friends, and that gives you pleasure. But more than that, he says happiness comes from engagement. If you like what you're doing in your job, if you like your studies, if you like your job, if you get some more happiness. The difference between pleasure and engagement is, suppose you play a game, cricket or basketball or something like that. If you watch a wonderful game of cricket on TV, you get some happiness. But if you actually go out and play yourself, you will get more happiness. Notice, the game which you are watching on TV, they are played by professionals. They may play far better than you. But when you actually go out and play, when you're actually engaged in that game, you get more happiness. Engagement gives more happiness than passively consuming something. But more than pleasure, more than engagement, Seligman pointed out, far more than any of this, if our lives are meaningful in some way, that they are of, and the best way to make it meaningful is to be relevant to others, is that others are getting some benefit out of my living. So you get maximum happiness there. Meaningful life where others are benefited is the source of much greater happiness. If you watch a movie today, when an experiment was done, students were shown a movie and they were asked, how much happiness did you get? They gave some number, scale, rating. And then they were asked to take part in a program where they gave toys and clothes to children and poor community. They were asked to rate how much happiness you got. And they also rated something. Many months later, they were asked, remember 6 months ago you saw a movie, how much happiness are you getting out of it now? Nothing. People had already forgotten. Some could not remember the name of the movie also. Remember 6 months ago, you spent some time with children in this community and you made friends with them. You gave them gifts and clothes and toys. Now, when you think back about it, 6 months later, how much happiness, satisfaction you get? I gave a lot of a very high score. So the satisfaction, fulfillment we get by doing things for others is a lasting, deep, profound kind of satisfaction. This unselfishness, the idea that my life should be of benefit to others. One may think, I'm a student, I am a teenager, what benefit can I give? It's not so much of what you are. Let me first become very rich, then I will give a lot of donations to everybody. That is very good, but it's an attitude which starts from the very beginning. You will notice, you yourself will notice, in your class, in your school or in your college, among your friends, there'll be people who naturally help others. They don't wait that one day I will be in a position to help and then only I will help. No, it's a disposition, a natural disposition we have of being helpful to others. So as Swami Ranganathanji says, what can I do for you? Unselfishness is the probably the biggest takeaway. Summarizing, what have I said? A few great ideas which are now becoming commonplace around the world. One is the idea of the takeaway from Swami Vivekananda, strength in oneself. Once I saw one monk who was feeling very unhappy. I asked him, why are you unhappy? What do you want? He said, I want peace, Shanti. And then I remembered what Swamiji has said, don't look for Shanti and you will never get Shanti in this way. Look for strength. If you have strength to tackle your problems, you will get peace. Who gets peace? The strong person gets peace. When looking for peace, you don't get peace. But looking for strength, you get peace. So first is the idea of strength. Second comes the faith in oneself, the self-confidence. And the third thing is focus, the power of concentration. The greatest power we have got to take our limited resources and focus it, throw it on one. So make a habit of being focused. Fourth idea is having a goal in life. Take your time. Let it be let it change also. But every time, even if people do not ask, if you ask yourself, what am I doing? And there should be a clear answer. Why am I doing this? So there is a goal in life. And finally, most important, if one thing you have to take away, is this expansion. Is life. That unselfishness is a is a is the greatest treasure that we can have. It's a very wise thing to be unselfish. I think I've run out of time. Um, I'm happy. Few more minutes.
10 more minutes.
Okay, let me add a couple of points which I think might be nice to share. I don't know if you have access to this documentary which was released recently called Social Dilemma. I also saw it, and many of the students here in top universities, they have shown it. It shows that the greatest source of distraction in our present generation is the internet, especially social media. We as monks, we don't know so much, but more and more I'm beginning to hear what an effect it is having on the younger generation here in the West or in India, everywhere around the world. And that documentary has shown how this internet economy is designed to grab your attention. We said that one great power, the greatest power we have is focus, attention, and that is taken away by this. You see, they realized very soon in Silicon Valley that it's not important to have a very good website with very good content. Everybody has good websites and everybody has good content. So just by providing good content, you will not get people. You have to grab the attention of people. Why? Because it is connected to money. Everything is connected to money here, ultimately. In the United States, one thing I noticed was people are very careful about making money. Even the government, I was noticing that we complain. In India, it does not work. There are many inefficiencies there, corruption is there. United States is efficient, but it is efficient, but at every point you have to pay a huge amount of money. In India, foolishly, people take bribes to do your work. The government is not wise. Government should take that money. The bribe should not be taken by illegally by government servants and people. But here, for every little thing, you say something is not according to the law. Yes, for that also there is an option. But legally you can do, but you have to pay much more, 5 times more. The government makes a huge amount of money and delivers the service to you also. So everything is sort of monetized here. So very soon the Silicon Valley engineers realized in order to get money from the advertisers, we must show that how many people are watching their websites. And the way they did it was they engineered this technology, Facebook, Twitter, and so many other the social media platforms. They engineered this technology to grab your attention, to train your attention. How many times we are looking at mobile phone? How many times checking Facebook, or nowadays there are more other platforms which are popular among young people? Why are we doing that? It's because these platforms have trained us to attend to that. One psychologist was saying that if you're studying and suddenly a message comes on mobile phone, they're very clever, those little devices, the ting sound will come, immediately your attention goes there, even for 1 second. If you divert your attention even for 1 second, you're saying it will take 10 to 12 minutes to get back full concentration. What a huge price to pay. That if you just check your mobile 1 second and get back to work, some serious studying you're doing. So they were watching this documentary here, and some of the top students, some of the top universities, Columbia University, and students were telling me that our friends are talking about giving up social media. I don't know whether they'll be able to give up social media or not, but they're talking about giving up social media. One thing I've noticed among scholars, high achieving scholars and students, they cut themselves off from this connectivity. At least as long as they're studying, they make a cocoon, like cutting themselves off, create their own environment. So mobile is switched off, not looking at other email or social media inputs, and then they focus. This is one thing that I wanted to share with you. Um, Daniel Goleman, well-known writer, is associated with the idea of emotional intelligence, EQ. But recently has written a book called Focus. He said, I was very worried because mothers and teachers and corporate employers, from teenage up to the early 20s, you're finding a whole generation which is perpetually distracted. Every few minutes, something else. So every day, something new. So this kind of thing is not useful either in college or in the workplace. So Daniel Goleman said I had to write this book on concentration, on focus. It's a very big topic, but a very worthwhile topic. They call it the attention economy now. How much of our attention the world is trying to grab? It is your resource. You have a limited attention. Don't let others snatch it away from you.
Very good, Maharaj. Just for a minute, I will ask whether anyone has any question. One question maybe you can answer. Anyone has any question, you can quickly ask Maharaj. I will pass on your question to him. Yeah. Please, quick. Maharaj has no time. He has to go.
Also, is there a live audience present there?
No. Yeah. We have some in the auditorium. We have gathered.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, they are seeing you live.
I see.
I have one question regarding helping others. So, you know that in this era, when we start helping others, what happens that people start taking advantage of us. And then we start draining our energy by helping others. So, how to avoid that? Even we helping others.
I could not catch the question. Could you repeat the question?
When he says when we try to help others, people take advantage of us and then we are completely finished. So how to help others and at the same time not be exploited or not be taken advantage of? That is the question.
Yes, that's a common problem. Common question that people ask, that it's a very competitive world and a difficult world, and people are not nice and people may try to take advantage. It is a real problem. But if your philosophy of life is to be helpful, then you will be helpful no matter what people do. But who has said that you have to be a fool? Sri Ramakrishna always used to say, Bhakto hobi to boka hobi kana. If you are a devotee of God, does that mean you have to be a fool? If you have to be a nice person, does not mean that you have to be a fool. Every nice person is not at all foolish. So you have to be wise. You will help, but you will also have to be wise. So always have this this attitude of protect yourself. Don't let yourself be exploited first, and then try to help. You must learn to recognize where people are trying to exploit or people may not be so nice, and avoid those situations. There are any number of people who need help. So generally our tendency is to be selfish. So generally, if a tendency is to be selfish, it is good to practice unselfishness. It's basically our selfish mind which says that no, he or she will take advantage of me, so I will not help. That is not actually not actually a problem outside. It's more our own selfishness talking there. It's better to be outgoing, better to be helpful, and in case a few people do take some advantage of you, don't worry, you will not be finished. It is the person who is helpful, who is outgoing, who is compassionate, that person is never finished. It's always taken care of.
So, is it time for one last question? Or you have
Yes.
to go? One last question.
Yes.
Final question. Yes. Please. Be quick. Give the mic. Yeah, please. Last question. Maharaj has to go. Yes, next program. Yeah.
Namaste. I have a question regarding how to manage anger and stress in times when it is difficult to get the desired result.
Achha. Now the question is, Maharaj, how to manage anger and stress, particularly in a situation when you are not getting the desired results?
Right. Notice, first thing is the desired results. That is a source of stress. If my focus is on the result and my desire, I want this, then the chances of stress are much more. If the focus is on, I am doing this, this is my duty, I am doing this, this is because this will be of help, this will be helpful to others, you see, a kind of detachment is there already. So it will not never be so stressful. I have seen Swamijis, and one good example is our Shantatmanji Maharaj himself. So much work I have seen Swamiji is doing, huge amounts of work, and yet without any stress. About 1/4 of that or 1/10 of that people outside, if they do for worldly gains, so much stress is there, because the focus is not on the work, focus is not on being helpful, focus is on what I am getting, and if I'm not getting it, stress is the result. Again, strength. Remember, the first thing which Swami Vivekananda tells us about is strength. The strength is the ability to manage lots of contradictions in life. The world will be a peculiar place. The world will be a challenging place. Many problems will come from the world outside, from other people, from one's own health, body, mind. So many challenges will come throughout life. Strength is the ability that I will face it. It is, when do we get stressed? Mihai Csikszentmihalyi also talks about it in his book Flow. When does stress come? When does anxiety come? When we feel the challenge is beyond our capacity. I have got this limited capacity and there's too much challenge from the world, too many problems. I cannot manage it. Then I get stressed. Then I get either anxious or angry. Angry if there is somebody to direct my anger at, or anxious if then tension comes. So the solution to that is also strength. Sometimes it may be wise to reduce the challenge. It may be wise to reduce the burden or the task that you have taken up. Take up little portions of the task, finish it. Don't look too much to the final goal, what will come at the end. Look to the task itself. So these are some of the means of reducing anger and stress. I wish
Thank
you
you.
all the best.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you very much. Wish you a happy new year. So nice of you to have taken our time early in the morning. Now we are really waiting for your personal visit, which is going to come this year, where you will give us 3 full days of any particular topic, either introduction to Vedanta, or Shavasana Gita, whatever you like. So, you have a huge fan following in Delhi. Thank you very much, Maharaj. I know your next program. Thank you.
Maharaj, please accept my pranams and namaskars to all the young people present there. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Again. Now, we can take, the lights may be switched on. If you are here, if you want to ask something. And the lights and. Hello. Yeah, those of you who want to ask questions, yeah, please.
Swamiji, he said about Bandura, or psychology. He said that we learn through our social environment. Can you help us that when we are stuck in negative situations, negative people around us, how to make positive?
See, people around us, if they are negative, yes, that's always a struggle. One thing is, if you have little clarity about yourself, that will help you tackle half of it. First of all, you need personal clarity, as Maharaj said, about your own ability, your strength, your goal-mindedness, your self-confidence. All those things could not be determined because ultimately, whether it's inside your house or in the right in the environment around you or outside, always it's a struggle. Only those who struggle, only those who are able to overcome all that, they won't succeed. So, if your near environment is like that, reduce your engagement there to the extent possible. And then you have some others to engage. For example, our youth forum is there, like others, like-minded people who will always be positive, will be encouraging, will have a lot of things to give you, share it with you, teach you. So it is very necessary for you to be in such an environment. If the environment around you is not very conducive, reduce your engagement as much as possible, and then you engage outside. Plus, inwardly also you should develop that kind of strength, that kind of focus, that kind of self-confidence. Then only you'll be really able to come out successful. Yeah, anyone else? Quickly.
Pranam Maharaj.
Yeah.
Maharaj, one thing is bothering me to state very much is that ego. ईगो के चलते बहुत ज्यादा कभी कभी झगड़ा होता है या फिर घर में